Ms. Potgieter, good morning. Thank you very much for your time. Now, from a risk perspective, this is like really one kind of scam that's been going on for quite some time. Am I wrong?
Yes. It has been going on for quite some time, but I think why it's now being, highlighted is because of the prevalence. It's not just a South African problem, it's actually a global problem, but the prevalence is of huge concern, and that's why we need for businesses to take note of this.
So now, the way I've said in the intro, an email will arrive in my inbox and say, hi, I'm the CEO. I think, oh, this is the CEO of the business. And Dan, we need you from the finance department as our accountant to quickly transfer urgently this money to that company.
Yes.
Simply like that.
Absolutely, but not quite as simple, because the criminals have to gather specific information for the scam to work. So the tactics they use is a combination of social engineering skills. Sometimes they even target the CEO's inbox with some malware so that they can learn his communication style, because, you know, you can't just communicate in any old way and interject a communication pattern with your own style and expect it to be successful.
So their email would have to look very professional,
Absolutely.
Using the right business language and tone. To fool you, to think it's credible.
That is correct. And then, of course, prior to this happening, they must have lined up the recipient account, because remember, the money now has to go into an account over which the criminals actually have control.
Now, what can you do? I mean, because you are calling it business email compromise. So
yes.
The business email has been compromised.
Absolutely.
And most companies go to lengths to ensure that their emails are protected.
Yes.
There's all kinds of firewalls. So what can they do? What are the basics that you're advising Ms. Sabrik to do?
There's two ways that the emails are actually written in the sense of tricking the recipient victim into believing that they're legitimate emails. The one is that they use an email address that looks very, 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 very similar to that of the real, the person, the real finance manager or the real CEO. But if you look at the email address carefully, you might find that there's a full stop somewhere where there shouldn't be a full stop, or there's a letter missing, or a letter.
So the message is, as a recipient of this email, yes, you need to look at the email address, the sender's email address carefully to ensure that it is coming from your CEO, your CFO, or another senior executive of the company.
Absolutely. And then another way, and this is more prevalent in the instances of smaller businesses, they can actually hijack the email account. Now, how they do that is, assuming a business uses a Gmail account to do business from, they could, for example, send an email to the target and say, your inbox is full, click on the link, and we will give you extra space or so forth. And then, of course, when you click on the link and insert your password and username, you're actually on a spoof website, and that's how the criminals then get access to your email account. So those are the two predominant ways of doing that.
So you shouldn't click on any link, eh?
Absolutely. Never, ever click on a link, especially if it's an unsolicited email.
Now, we normally want to advertise our companies.
Yes.
We use our websites. Absolutely. On our websites, we put our email addresses and details.
Yes.
Surely, in this kind of thing, we should be wary of putting the email address of the CEO, the direct email of the CEO, yes, the direct email of the CFO. Am I wrong?
I think there's a trade-off between mitigating risk and doing business. So if you want to be commercially active, you are definitely going to have to disclose some of the information, otherwise you'll never have customers. But knowing what criminals do and knowing what to look out for, I think that's the trick. So following the tips.
Are you able, as Sabrik, to quantify how much is being lost by companies to these business email compromise? Is there a figure that's going around?
In South Africa, we don't have a figure. There are lots of global figures, and if you go and do a Google search, you'll be able to actually pick up on those. And I think even in our press release, we did quote some of it. But the victim is business at large, small and large, so the information's not within the banking industry. Having said that, these victims do contact their banks and they ask for assistance, and we've been told by all of our members that it is rife, and the amounts are from medium-sized amounts right into the millions per incident. So it is a matter of huge concern.
Yeah, I recall a few years ago that as we head towards the festive season, you also have a rise in all kinds of electronic scams, that including customers of banks or ordinary people like you and me going on about our business get caught up in, and this scam sort of a similar kind of.
Yes. Look, if you want to analyze what's happening here, it's actually a series of crimes. It's not one crime.
Okay.
It is, first and all, it's theft of information. Then it is the misrepresentation through the email communication. And then often the account into which the money goes, there could be some money laundering happening there as well, or some abuse of the recipient account. So it's a series of crime. And then, of course, the change of bank account details scam that we've communicated on previously is at the center of all of this as well, because sometimes what happens is that email says, I have changed my bank account details. Please don't pay into account A, but now pay into account B. And then, of course, account B is under the control of the recipient, of the criminals. So late notifications of payment account details is definitely suspicious.
So if an email lands in your inbox and it doesn't seem right, and there's a funny link in it, and you're not sure it's coming from the boss or from the event, don't respond,
Absolutely.
Don't do anything, verify with the individual consent.
Absolutely, and any instruction to pay away money has to be verified. Don't just respond to an email telling you to pay away millions of rands.
Susan Potgieter, thank you very much. She's, of course, from Sabric, looking after the banking industry's risk management, so to speak, and some common sense advice that applies to anybody anyway. Thank you very much for your time.